I love coming here to just get inspired. I love seeing new products, innovation, startups, partners, just the whole event just is a lot of fun. You know, years ago, yes, I used to be very regimented about planning it, looking at everything. Now I pick a few sessions that I really want to attend, but it's more about the relationships with the publishers and our partners. I'm just really focused on coming in and just maintaining that. Yeah, for rookies, I would definitely recommend bringing comfortable walking shoes and definitely an umbrella because it always tends to rain. So what does it mean to be a brand marketer today? It's definitely a fragmented landscape. So the approach now is much more about having nonlinear content. It used to be you could publish your content and it would be in one central location and everybody would see that content. Now you've had decreases in the ability to drive organic reach on a lot of platforms, so having content that resonates with people, having what's called thumb-stopping creative from a mobile-first perspective is absolutely critical. So from that perspective, it's very important to understand how to leverage the channels and have the right partner to help in the distribution of that content to drive awareness. Some of the biggest challenges are how do we incorporate user-generated content into our campaigns? What does that flow look like from a legal perspective versus what marketing wants to accomplish? And how can we make sure that connection basically from a waiver or a clearance standpoint happens. So that's an incredibly important piece that we see from that perspective, as well as what are the guidelines and terms associated with actually using user-generated content. Yeah, how do we see content basically applying back to these evergreen content strategies? So it's a little bit of both. When we talk to our brands, there's a lot about evergreen content strategy being always on and driving engagement with content in support then of our larger campaign initiatives, which may have more UGC tied to that. So when we look at our big programs, we look for what are the right partners that can help us facilitate the campaign and the program? How can we then use that content to drive basically the core business objective and then deliver results against that? And when we look at content, it's not necessarily about owned, earned, paid anymore. It's more of this nonlinear approach to where you're using content either to create equity on the front end for the brand that then leads to engagement. From that, once you have that engagement, how can we drive impulse all the way through to conversion? So when we look at content, we look at it from the perspective of how can we get content that's going to resonate with individuals, but also then intersect that with content that's going to be potentially drive to a specific action. And that's where the whole concept around user-generated content really comes into play. You can make that seamless connection with the consumer that can help validate either post-purchase, so that you're seeing people versus just pushing a message on the front end, you're actually seeing people interacting and driving the product. So it's an incredibly important piece. For us, it's about how can we use content as a driver to get through to that point of conversion. So I work on the Snickers brand, so that's one where we've essentially began to incorporate more user-generated content in the flow there. AT&T with our Be the Fan program last year was purely driven on user-generated content over the course of 14 weeks with the college football season, and that was one of the first times that AT&T had done that. So that was a key one for us. And just a number of other clients from Callaway Golf to GameStop to others. Absolutely. So how do brands avoid overloading consumers with content? It's having a content strategy in place to where the story is less about being Game of Thrones and having this long, thematic content, and more about what we call atomized content, which means it's highly consumable by the end users. It's more like Law and Order. It's episodic. You see the content, it resonates, they understand the story, and they're able to move forward. And it's just adding that a little extra value to the consumer during the course of their day versus trying to drive a deep immersive experience. So I just saw Content Cloud, yes, and it can definitely help support our customers in a number of ways. This whole idea of nonlinear content and content being at the center of the consumer experience is absolutely critical. So having a tool like Content Cloud and our ability to take and curate the content in, basically then deploy that via playlists to then drive specific response to a specific audience segment that you can even overlay with paid on certain channels such as Facebook or Twitter and drive additional reach through that. There's a lot of value there, and having that ability can be incredibly valuable for our clients. So my first response to Content Cloud was, wow, this is a very timely tool. Having the ability to curate all of this user-generated content into one place, but then deploy it in a very non-linear way is impressive. It used to be all about driving to a specific destination to consume content. Now it's about taking and positioning and pushing that content just into the right channels at the right time, and having a tool like this that can help facilitate that process is invaluable. The reason I keep coming back to this moment is I've had a great partnership over the last few years. We've deployed large enterprise level programs on the platform. The platform's always performed, been great partners, great first party relationships with this moment and other providers such as Google and Facebook, and just continuing to innovate I think has been a key thing. And I think that Content Cloud is another one of just the next step in the evolution of the partnership, and look forward to deploying that soon.